Hello. Welcome to another Wednesday Art Snack. And this month we are talking about value. So, value in art means the lightness or darkness of a color. And often we say the relative lightness or darkness of a color because um, the color that uh, that we see can change depending on the color that it's next to. So I'll get into that another time. Didn't come prepared for that. Um, but today, I want to do and encourage you to do some value charts. So we're going to start with a grayscale. And you've probably seen this before, but this is really good practice. It'll get you practicing with blending and with fine tuning, getting a nice gradation between black and white. And let's see how many different shades of gray we can get in here. We're not looking for 50 though, not 50, maybe 7. Um, so the first thing I'm going to do is take some white paint and I'm going to paint it on one side. Of course, you're not going to be able to see it very well because this is white on white. And at this moment, at least until it dries, we'll see how it dries. The paint is a lighter value than the paper. We don't know if it'll stay that way. Sometimes paint dries different colors than it's wet. All right, now I'm just going to take some black and put it on the other side. And so we're going to go from one to the other. And what I'm going to do is mix a medium gray. So I'm going to try and get halfway in between the black and the white. We'll see how that goes. I'm not looking at anything to compare it to, so I'm just going to eyeball it and see. Now, when you're mixing colors, scooch some of that white over, so I'll leave some of the white. And I'm using a palette knife, by the way. I totally recommend you get yourself a palette knife and get a metal one. Plastic ones are okay, but they're not as good as the metal ones. This is a great shape for mixing paint. And clearly I don't clean off my palette knife as well as I should. But I'm going to scooch some of the white over, and always have a paper towel or a rag in hand. Wipe off your palette knife. And I'm going to take a little bit of the black and put it in with that pile of white. And that's a really good way to mix color. Just start slowly with the darker color into the light color. If I were to add just a little bit of white into a pile of black, it's just going to absorb it. And you can't go 50-50. It just doesn't work that way. That's not bad. It looks a little light. I'm going to leave some of that just the way it is and scooch some over and add a little more black. So I just scoop it up and lay it in there and scrape and stir and fold it around. It's really kind of fun just to mix paint. Oh, I think that's not too bad. I'm going to call that medium. That's going to be my medium gray. So I could apply it with my palette knife, or I could clean off the brush. I think I'm gonna do it with a palette knife. Let's see how that looks. Of course, you don't have to be exactly neat. This is not about having something beautiful, but it is nice to have it look good, especially if it's uh, in your mixed media pad or your art journal. And of course, if you're really scientific about it, oops, that's not going to be helpful. See, be careful. Don't want to pick up some extra black. So I'm going to go back to the paintbrush. If you're really scientific about it, you can do percentages. You can make notes in here and write how much, estimate, I should say, how much black you put into how much white. All right. So now I think what I want to do is get two value, two darker values in between here and two lighter values in between there. So, by the way, when you add black to a color, it's called a shade. When you add white to a color, it's called a tint. So I'm going to add tints over here and shades over here. And if you add gray to a color, it's called a tone, which is slightly confusing because we're only dealing with grays, but we'll stick with shades and tints. All right. So now I've got a little bit of this darker gray, not much. I'm going to mix that again. And I have it here so I can see what color that is. So I'll scooch some white over here. Add a bit of black in. Give yourself a lot of space to do this. This is kind of a cramped space. But a bigger space is nice to sort of be able to spread this out. And you could actually do the mixing in your mixed media pad or on your canvas if you wanted to. I don't particularly want to do that myself. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So that's my medium. So let me get a little bit darker. So I'm looking to go not quite halfway in between those two colors. Now that is pretty dark. I put it next to that other gray. Oh, I think that's pretty good. Okay. So I'm just going to paint some of that in there. Not bad. So now, so I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could go for bigger variations here if I wanted to. I've got space to add 2 more. But I'm just going to do 1 more for the sake of this video. You can do more if you like. Get more shades in there. So I'm going to look to go halfway between that dark value and the black value. So I've already got some of this dark still mixed. So you want to mix enough of each shade so that you have enough left over to paint on here and to mix more into. So you don't have to keep mixing the same color all the time. So I'm just adding a little bit more black. Ooh, that's nice. That's kind of charcoal. Oh, I like that. I'm going to go a tiny, tiny bit darker. And if you go too far, just add a little bit more white and just go back and forth until you get it. All right. So wipe my brush off, give it a rinse. And of course, you don't have to stick with rectangles. You might do circles. You might do whatever you want. That is not too bad. I almost think of music notes when I say this, a music scale. All right. Now I'm going to go lighter. So I feel like I need a tiny bit darker than what I've already got mixed there. Now, what can happen to you is maybe what is just happening to me. I got confused about what's what here. So if that happens, you can put a little bit right next to the value that you have on there. It's not too bad. I think I actually want to go a little lighter. Yeah, I like that. So really what you're trying to do is get sequential, excuse me, sequential color differentiation here. Get it in sequence, get it, and not just light to dark, but even, even tones. You don't want to make a big color jump or value jump at any point. So this shade, this value should be halfway between the white and that gray, that value. So I need to definitely lighten it up. Oh, that's not bad. Okay. Oh, and can you even, I don't think you can even see that. So I think I went too light on this one. So I'm going to darken it up just a tad. It was too not big enough a jump from here to here. Too big of a jump from here to here. So I'm just going to go right over this color and really it's going to blend in a little bit. That's okay. I think that's a little better. But in a perfect or more perfect, there is no perfect. In a better scale, this would be a little bit lighter, somewhere in between. It can be tricky. It can definitely be tricky. Okay, so there is my grayscale, my first grayscale. The next one I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to try and blend straight from black to white, or really from white to black. And that's fun to do. So get some white on here. And I think I want a slightly bigger brush. Now, when you're blending, get a soft brush. You want something fairly soft. Soft bristles is going to blend better. And a flat brush is really good for this. So I'm going to get this wet first. Wipe it off with my paper towel. And I'm going to start just by painting some white. Then I'm going to get the tiniest speck of black on this brush, and I'm going to overlap it into that white. And my brush is drying out. You probably can't see it, but I can see the paper underneath. So I'm going to just get it a little bit wet with water and go right back in there. Grab a little bit more black and overlap it on with that wet paint. And this is how you blend. You just go right over the paint that's already there. Now, because I'm not doing this very scientifically, I'm not measuring, mixing my paints first, I'm going to end up going back and forth a lot. But I like to do it. That's how I like to paint. And this is how you learn. And layers are good. So I'm going to get some more black, and then I'm going to go over it with some white. And as I go further over to the left here, I'm going to add less and less white into that black. Now, you might have a different way of doing this whole project of blending. There's not a right way or a wrong way to do this. As long as you get the results you're looking for, you're good. So try different things. You might even try, actually, I'll do that in a second. Never mind. I'll show you in a second. Ah, I love it. I can almost hear the tone that's making. Okay, so another way to go about this, just for fun, let's try this. Whoops, I had black on my brush already, so I meant to just get white. So I'll get some black there, white there, and start heading towards each other and meet in the middle. If you start with a clean brush, it works a little bit better. Play around with it and have fun.